Good morning, everyone, and thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us. My name is Pietri Odendaal, and I am the head of the School of Financial Planning and Insurance. Welcome. You have been invited to this session today as you have completed a qualification in our school within the past 2 years. Firstly, congratulations on that. I have been a part-time student myself for more than 10 years, and I know the rigors and commitment it takes to work full-time and study. You can be very, very proud of yourself. At Milpark, we are passionate about lifelong learning and professionalizing the financial services industry. We would therefore like to take this opportunity to explain the options you have as a Milpark graduate in order to further your studies in financial planning with us. In today's information session, Brunhilde will explain the options you have in terms of the qualifications we offer. She will then hand over to Tracy, our senior program manager, to explain the nuances of the modules and the important deadlines you need to consider. Thereafter, Mzwandile from our sales team will take you through the Milpark website to show you a step-by-step of how the online application process works. Throughout the session, if you have any questions, please post them in the chat on the right-hand side. You can also add your questions by clicking on the Ask a Question at the bottom right-hand side of your screen. We will answer all your questions throughout in the chat or at the end of the session. As a special offer to you, our graduates, we are waiving the admission fee for any qualification within the school between now and the 1st of July 2022. That means free admission onto your next qualification. The important due dates to consider in terms of the close of admission are listed on the screen and will also be available on our Milpark website. It is important to keep in mind that it depends on the type of stream that the qualification is offered on. So if you are looking to do our advanced certificate or the BCom on DL, so distance learning, then the close of admission is already next week, Friday, the 28th of January. But if you are looking to do our postgrad diploma in financial planning or the BCom via DLO, distance learning online, then close of admission is only the 1st of March. So there is a little bit more time left for you. When you apply online, simply mention that you are a graduate of Milpark and the sales consultant will waive the admission fee for you. I'm now going to hand over to Brunhilde Gerber to talk to you about the qualification options we have within the Department of Financial Planning. Brunhilde is our head of Department of Financial Planning. She has a bucket full of degrees. She's got a BCom in law, advanced diploma in trust and estate administration, a LLB, a postgrad diploma in financial planning, a LLM in financial planning law, and she's going to start with her doctoral studies this year. She's a certified financial planner professional and a fiduciary practitioner of South Africa, as well as an admitted attorney of the High Court. She practiced as an attorney for a while, but then decided that she'd rather be with us at Milpark, and she joined us about 1.5 years ago. Thank you, Brunhilde. I'll hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Pietru, and welcome to everyone here. So, like Pietru mentioned, I will be talking to you about the options available to you now that you've completed some of your qualifications with us. And I think I'd like to start off with the words of Malcolm X that indicated that education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. So please let us help you today to prepare for your future. So we will work through the articulation options for the higher certificate in financial planning, the advanced certificate in financial planning, and then the BCom with a major in financial planning within the School of Commerce. So first off, the higher certificate in financial planning. When you've completed the qualification, you've got two options. You've got the advanced certificate in financial planning of the NQF 6 level, and then you can also apply for the BCom with a major in financial planning on NQF level 7. Then just some things that you need to consider when you decide for which one of the two you want to apply for. The advanced certificate, like I mentioned, is NQF 6 with 120 credits, and it's a minimum of 1 year for the completion of the course. Then the BCom is NQF 7. The total credit is 405, and there's a minimum 3 years for the completion of this qualification. I think it's also important to just keep in mind your intended outcome. So what is it that you want to do with your qualification? Are you heading towards a PG dip? Are you just completing it for your employment? And then also consider what is your timeline involved in which you want to complete the qualification, or the time that you have to complete the qualification. Moving on to the advanced certificate in financial planning on the NQF level 6. When you've completed this qualification, you've got the option to move on to the BCom with a major in financial planning on the NQF level 7. Or in certain circumstances, depending on certain RPL requirements, you will be allowed onto the postgrad diploma in financial planning, which is the NQF level 8 module. You're welcome to ask questions with regards to the RPL requirements and registrations for PG dip at the end of the session. Sorry, I'm just trying to move my slides and it's not moving. Okay. On the advanced certificate in financial planning, the things that you need to consider when you've completed this, and you need to decide between the BCom and the PG dip in financial planning, is that the BCom is the NQF level 7, so that's a full degree with a minimum of 3 years, and then the PG dip in financial planning is on NQF level 8. It's 120 credits, and you have a minimum of 2 years for completion. Again, very important to look at what your intended outcome is when you register for these qualifications. Do you want to become a certified financial planner with the FPI? Or is it just for the sake of a qualification? Would you rather want to study further in a BCom line? Or what is your intended outcome? Then again, very important to also look at your timelines. And something that I did leave out also on the previous slide is to consider what is the mode of in what you want to complete your qualification. Is it a distance learning qualification, or would you want to do a distance learning online qualification? As some of these are available on both BCom, and then PG dip is only based online. Then finally, on your BCom with a major in financial planning, if you completed it, you can then move on to the postgrad diploma in financial planning on the NQF level 8. Then that is all from my side. So from the on the other side of things is the admissions, and our people responsible for those admissions and qualifications is our program managers. And I would like to introduce to you our senior program manager, Tracy Joseph. She's not only a mother of 2, but I think we can call her the grandmother, being the senior of the program managers. All the program managers, who we call the mothers of our schools, report to her. Over to you, Tracy.
Thank you, Brunilda, and thank you everybody for joining us. We know it's a busy time, so we appreciate your time this morning. So let's just get to it. I just want to give you a bit more information. So as you know, if you have already done, or all of you would have already done a qualification with Moorpark. So I just want to let you know that if you've done something with us, then you would qualify to get some exemptions should you articulate to one of our other qualifications. So for instance, if you have completed your higher certificate in financial planning, and you then move to your advanced certificate in financial planning, unfortunately, this is the only one where there are no exemptions. You are just moving up on an NQF level. Okay, but then going from there, should you have done your high certificate in financial planning and you then move on to your advanced certificate in financial planning, you will qualify for two internal exemptions, and this would be for retirement and investment planning and risk planning. If you've done your advanced certificate in financial planning and you then move to our BCom, you would get 3 exemptions. You would be able to get corporate financial planning, legal aspects of financial planning, as well as taxation for financial planners. Very important to remember that don't take too long to decide that you want to move on and articulate to the next qualification, because there are timelines for these exemptions, especially for legal aspects of financial planning. The module cannot be older than 5 years, and if you've done tax previously in the advanced certificate in financial planning, it's only valid for 3 years. So if you take 4 years to come back to us, then you're not going to get the free admission, and you're also not going to get the exemption for the taxation for financial planners. Also, another reason why what people like to consider is how much time gets cut off should you move on with us and we give you exemptions. So typically if you get 2 exemptions, that's possibly half 1 semester. So it would cut off six months off of your qualification. And then for the one where you move from your advanced certificate in financial planning to BCom, you'd get 3 exemptions, which would also be 1 semester. But if you've started on your NQF 5 and you've done your NQF 6 as well, and now you decide, okay, I'm going to do the BCom, then it actually will cut off a full year off of your qualification, because you then get five modules exempted. So hopefully that is a bit of incentive for you. Guys, what's very important to remember always is our timelines. As far as admission and registrations go, I know, oftentimes we just look and we think, oh no, I've got lots of time. But since you're all returning learners, you should know that the process is, sometimes you're fortunate and you apply today and you can get everything done today, but sometimes it's going to take a couple more days. And we don't want to be in a situation where we have to fight and say, no, but I did this and I sent through that. From the program manager's perspective, it's always something where we want you to remember that oftentimes there are textbooks that you need to get from a supplier and they might not have the textbooks. So it makes more sense if you can get your admission in as early as possible, then you can work on the modules that you want to register for. You can check to see, do I need a textbook for this module? Phone your supplier and see how long is it going to take, because all of that is going to impact your being able to go through your material, prepare for your online test, and really hand in a good assignment. So I just want to encourage you to always be mindful of those admission, the closing dates for admission, the closing dates of registration, and try to get your documentation and your application in as quickly as possible. Okay, I think I've covered everything that I need to. Oh, wait, one more thing. Just in terms of once you do your admission, your exemption, internal exemption should be processed pretty much on the same day. If it's not processed on the same day, please make contact with your program manager and say, look, I've been admitted, but I don't see the modules that I've previously passed, the ones that I've just mentioned, and they'll be able to sort you out as soon as possible. Okay, we look forward to having you guys all articulate further onto your next qualification. And now I'd like to hand back to Petra.
Thank you, Tracy. I might just mention here that the program manager for the advanced certificate in financial planning is Zulfa Bardin. The program manager for the postgrad diploma is Wadia Dramat. And both of those program managers report to Tracy, so sit within our school. If you are looking to do the BCom with a major in financial planning, the program manager there is Nono. She sits in Joburg and she's actually part of the commerce team, but we have a very tight relationship with her as well. So if you need to contact a PM, those are your PMs, as Tracy mentioned. Then before I hand over to Mzwa, I just quickly want to explain the difference between DL and DLO, because it might be that you are not familiar with those abbreviations that we've used. So DL stands for distance learning. That is the typical semester-based way of studying, and we use that on the higher certificate in financial planning and the advanced certificate in financial planning. So you've got 2 semesters in the year. You can do a maximum of 3 modules in a semester. So you can do 3 at a time, and then you write your exams in May, June, or October, November. You also have the option with Milpark to do DLO, which is the abbreviation for distance learning online. And with DLO, we work with what we call cycles. A cycle is an 8-week period within which you can only do 1 module. So you've got 6 weeks of intensive learning. You've got an assignment or an online test due every week. And then there's a 2-week study break for you, and then you write your exam. If your exam will always be on a Monday, and the following Tuesday, the very next day, the next cycle starts. So it's 1 module at a time, and it gives you the opportunity to plan your studies a little bit better, especially if you've got busy periods at work and you know, for example, that at the end of the financial year, you won't be able to study. So then you can take a break in that specific cycle that coincides with your busy period at work. So for DLO, the PG DIP, the postgrad diploma, is only offered on DLO. Our BCom is the only qualification where you can choose. So you can choose to do the BCom either via DL or via DLO. If you choose to do DL for any of the qualifications that are on offer on the DL, then close of admission is the 28th of January. So that's next week, Friday. If you choose to do DLO, we've actually already started with Cycle 1. Cycle 1 started on Tuesday. So you can then apply to join us in Cycle 2. And that will then mean that close of admission is the 1st of March. I hope that helped. Now I'm going to hand over to Mzwa. He's a sales supervisor based in our offices in Johannesburg, who's been with Milpark for just over a year now. And he's responsible for a team of student advisors. Mzwa will be showing you in more detail the how-to of applying for admission onto your next qualification. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Petru. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Okay, so I'm going to basically start to share my screen with you in terms of what I would like to highlight when it comes to the registration and the admission process. So firstly, you might be asking yourself many questions now that you've been with Milpark before, what it is that Milpark has done to make it as changes and what difficulties might you experience. And the great thing is that there isn't any. The same website we've been using, we have another one now that we've updated, and I'm going to just take you through that so that you get to be familiar with the entire process. So firstly, you find yourself being confused, not sure what to do, go to our website, get in contact with our student advisor, and use the contact number that we have provided, which is 086 999 0001. And of course, there you will press 1 for sales. And then furthermore, once you're on our website, then there's multiple student types that we've got. We've got new students, returning students, and continuing students. So in your case, because you've been with Milpark, you are a returning student because you've completed a certain program with Milpark before. Once you've selected that, you will then, your information will proceed into the next phase where a student advisor will then be in contact with you and assist you with the next process to follow. Furthermore, on our website, if you go there, you will see there's this picture that is there. That is the application process being outlined. And within there, it's going to be specifying to you that first things first, you need to check your admission criteria if you do meet that. And secondly, you need to also visit our website. And once you've done that, all the way to the registration stage, that information will be outlined. And the great part with all of this is that you will be carried through by that student advisor that has previously assisted you within your previous qualification. If not, a new student advisor can be given to you, and then that person will be the one assisting you throughout your entire registration. Now, the steps that are interesting here is for you to know exactly what do we do in the background after we've obtained your information. The great part is that, ladies and gentlemen, is the fact that we've received all your information because you've been with us. It gives us an advantage because we are able to process this as quick as possible. So we try our level best to try and speed up everything to make sure that there isn't any further delays in your entire registration. So once you've submitted your documentation under capturing of students, the information will then proceed into application review. That is when the responsible team, which is the team that is doing the processing within the processing department, does the verification of the documents that you obviously have given us, and to see if there's any additional documents that you might need to provide to us, and verify and check if everything does check out, and then process the information to the academic team. And that's the team that is basically under Tracy. The team was responsible to check also further to see if you are within the correct qualification. Once that is done, ladies and gentlemen, your entire registration is going to be finalized. So that's the great part now. You will receive notifications saying you are now part of Milpark Education, and then all of the details that are required and everything in terms of communication, it's going to be provided to you. So we know that you've studied with us at Milpark. The positive thing here is that you basically don't need to stress and worry yourself about giving us your documentations because we already have those on our systems. However, if it does happen that maybe there's been any changes on your documentations whatsoever, please provide us that information. So from your ID document to your marriage certificates, if you've changed your surname by any chance, and of course your documents that we already should be having on our systems, which is your matric and your signed forms that we do require, and also the employee letter if it does happen that, for example, you are moving into PG DIP, and study permit for our foreign nationals as well as passport. I want to re-emphasize, ladies and gentlemen, that we do have most of your documents. If there's anything outstanding, the student advisory team should be in contact with you and to let you know which documents are outstanding. And the nice part is that we do not need you to certify the documents because we understand that this can be time consuming for you. So within the copies of what you have, you can feel free to send us clear copies of those documents. Ladies and gentlemen, I also want to specify that if there's any further queries or concerns or even questions that you might have, feel free to contact myself on the email address that is provided. Also, you can be in touch with our entire student advisory team. And of course, within that email address that is provided, studentservices@milpark.ac.za. And of course, you can just speak to them directly by calling our contact center on 086 999 0001. So from my side, I'd like to say thank you so much for the time that you've given to me. And I'm going to hand it over to Petru. And thank you so much for the wonderful moment.
Thank you, Mzwa. I have added the student services email address and the telephone number in the chat. If you'll just add your email address there as well. I am now going to head into the questions that were asked, and I'm going to ask Brunhilde to join me. Brunhilde is the Program Oversight Manager for the Postgrad Diploma, and I see the majority of the questions relate to that. So, Bruni, before we get to the RPL, there's a student that says, how would financial planning and being a fiduciary tie up? Any conflicts in being a trustee and a financial advisor for a client? Your thoughts on that as both a fiduciary specialist and an advisor?
Okay, so I think, yeah, there's a very fine line there, and you have to go look at your I want to say ethics and your relationship with your client on how you match them up. Yes, definitely. It could definitely be a conflict of interest. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I would normally I would rather say that you'd rather split the two. You've got a different relationship as a fiduciary services provider than you have as a financial planning advisor. So maybe if you've got another person or financial planner in your organization that's not a fiduciary specialist, rather let them do the planning and you do the fiduciary side, or you do the financial planning side and then rather outsource your fiduciary service to someone else.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's important when you are looking at becoming a trustee that there are very onerous requirements for being a trustee, and that you need to tread carefully there to make sure that you don't get yourself into any personal liability situations. So rather keep that line clear, be the trustee and have somebody else be the advisor in that instance. Then Prashante asked about, please advise on the RPL requirements to do the PG DIP if you've completed the advanced certificate in financial planning. So just as a quick overview, typically when you progress from one qualification to the next, if you want to do a level 8 qualification or honors or a postgrad diploma, you are required to have one level lower. So you are required to have a BCom before you can do the postgrad diploma. However, we are allowed as an institution to admit 10% of our students on RPL, which stands for Recognition of Prior Learning. And then that requirement to first have an NQF 7 before you can be admitted onto NQF 8 falls away. But you have to prove that you have basically replaced your NQF 7 qualification with practical knowledge. So you have to have sufficient years of industry experience in order to make up for that BCom. So our RPL process is very competitive, firstly, as we can only admit 10% of students. So it is not per se that you will, if you apply to be admitted via RPL, that you will be admitted. We have to go through a screening process, and we only take the top students that we can to fill the 10% that we need to fill, or that we are allowed to fill. For RPL, you apply, Brunilde, is it a separate application form? Can it be done online? Or
it can be done online.
Wardia?
No, you do it online, and Wardia will take you through the RPL process.
Perfect. So it's, again, as Brunilde said, on our website, you follow the normal application process, but there will then be additional documents required of you. Specifically, we are looking for your CV so that we can see in detail the years of experience that you have and the type of experience that you have in the financial planning industry. So we typically take on RPL students twice a year. So our next batch of RPL students will be allowed to be admitted onto the qualification in June to start in July. And then what happens is you are provisionally admitted onto the qualification. So you need to first pass the induction module and the first 2 modules. And once you've done that, we are satisfied that you have the right level of knowledge to proceed with the rest of the qualification. But you will be provided with a study plan and a lot of guidance from Wardia, our program manager. So the important thing to know is that it is competitive. So just because you apply, unfortunately, doesn't mean that you will get in now or within the next year. We keep your details and your application on file, and the moment we have a space for you, then we will let you know. But it is best to get your documents in as soon as possible, even though we don't work on a first-come, first-served basis. I hope that clarified your question, Prashante. I just want to see, there's another question. How is it possible to move from the advanced certificate to a postgrad? Do you have to have specific grades, or what is needed? It is possible via the RPL process. It helps if you're a Milpark student. It is to your benefit if you apply from our advanced certificate to our PG DIP. But again, we are looking at the students with the top grades and the students with a lot of experience in industry. Anything else you'd like to add on that, Brunhilde?
Nothing. I think you've covered that, Peter. Yeah. So we basically look at work experience and we look at your academic performance before we allow you onto the RPL.
Perfect. Then I see Emily's asked, I've done an advanced certificate in financial planning and I now want to do RE5. Does Milpark offer that? Emily, we offer support to prepare you for your RE5 exam. So we have short courses that we offer. We have study guides that we offer. And then we can also give you access to practice exams. Those are 3 separate offers that we have. You can do 1, 2, or 3 of those. And all of that is also found on our website. You can apply the normal way. We do not do it via, there will not be any classes, but there's a lot of support material available to you. There's again a question from Melanie. Where do we send the information for RPL? You just go through the normal application process online, Melanie, and then Wadia will reach out to you should she need a little bit more information. Okay, I see we have reached our time limit, but I am here, Brunhilde is here if there are any other questions. If you want us to reach out to you afterwards, please remember to answer yes in the poll. Then one of our student services advisors will reach out. And then again, I'm going to repeat myself, but just remind you that it is free admission onto your next qualification. That's an NQF qualification. And that the DL close of registration is the next week, Friday, the 28th of January. The session is recorded and the recording will be available afterwards in the chat. And we will also share the recording on our social media platform. It doesn't seem like there are any other questions. So I'm going to end the session here. Thank you very much, Brunhilde, for all the information you've provided, Tracy, Mzwa as well. And thank you for everybody joining us today. We're very excited for you to join us again. And we look forward to seeing you in class soon. Have a wonderful Thursday. Bye-bye.